Your struggles are not for the world to see. They are for you to overcome. Keep your battles private and let your progress speak for itself. Every time you share your struggles, you give your power away. Keep your pain to yourself and transform it into something powerful. Success doesn't come from complaining or explaining. It comes from silence, focus, and action. Life isn't always easy. We all face struggles, setbacks, and difficult moments. But here's the thing. How often do you share every single detail with others when things aren't going right? What if I told you that constantly telling the world about your challenges might be keeping you from moving forward? In this video, we're going to talk about why it's important to stop sharing every problem you face. Seeking sympathy or attention may feel good in the moment, but it can actually hold you back. Instead, what if you focused on solutions, turned your pain into progress, and kept your struggles private? There's a lot of power in handling things quietly and using your energy to make real progress. By the end of this video, you'll understand why protecting your energy and focusing on action is the key to overcoming obstacles. Ready to stop talking about your problems and start solving them? Stick around, because this could completely change how you handle your challenges. Number 1, take control and stop sharing your struggles with everyone. When life becomes difficult, it's easy to start talking about it, to tell everyone what's happening, to share every detail of the pain or confusion you're experiencing. It might feel good to get sympathy, to have others acknowledge your struggles, but here's something to think about. Constantly sharing your problems can actually prevent you from moving forward. We all go through challenges. We all face moments that test our strength, our patience, our endurance. But the first step to overcoming those challenges is understanding that you have control over your reaction. You have control over how much energy you give to your struggles, and most importantly, you have control over whether you keep talking about them. Too many people wear their struggles on their sleeves. They let the whole world know what's wrong. It feels natural to want to be heard, to vent, to seek validation, or simply to have someone tell you that you're not alone in your pain. But there's a danger in this. When you constantly share your struggles, you are reinforcing them. You are making them bigger, and you are giving them more power. Instead of addressing your challenges, you're letting them take over. Think about this: when you share everything with everyone, you are giving away your power. You're looking for external validation or sympathy, but none of that will actually help you solve your problems. No one can solve your problems for you. Not your friends, not your family, and not even the people who listen patiently as you unload. The real solution lies within you. It's your responsibility to take control of your life, to take control of your situation, and to take control of how you respond to challenges. And that means you need to stop sharing everything. When you keep sharing every setback, every difficulty, it's as if you're constantly reliving those moments. You go over the story again and again, and each time it feels like the problem becomes bigger. It gets louder in your head. The more you talk about it, the more energy you give it, and before you know it, your struggle has become your identity. But when you stop talking about your problems, something powerful happens. You stop allowing them to define you. You reclaim your energy, and you regain control of the situation. Instead of focusing on how difficult things are, you start to shift your focus to finding solutions, taking action, and moving forward. This doesn't mean you should shut yourself off from everyone, or never talk to anyone about what you're going through. Sometimes you do need to talk things out with someone you trust. But there's a big difference between seeking advice or support and continuously telling people about every little thing that's wrong. Seeking help is a proactive move. Complaining is reactive. Seeking help is about finding a solution. Complaining is about staying stuck in the problem. So what happens when you stop sharing your struggles? First and foremost, you start taking responsibility for your situation. You stop blaming others, and you stop waiting for someone to fix things for you. Instead, you begin to focus on how to improve your situation, how to take positive steps forward. The energy that was once spent talking about the problem now goes into solving it. That's where the real power lies. Another powerful shift that happens when you stop sharing your struggles is that you start to change the way you view yourself. Every time you talk about your difficulties, you reinforce the idea that you're struggling. But when you stop talking about them, you begin to see yourself differently. You start to see yourself as someone who doesn't need to broadcast their problems to the world. You start to see yourself as someone who handles challenges with strength, someone who takes action instead of making excuses. By keeping your struggles to yourself, you also begin to see the difference between truly needing support and just wanting attention. It's natural to want to feel heard, but there's a big difference between reaching out for help when you need it and seeking validation through your pain. The truth is, no one can carry your burdens for you. The best thing anyone can do is give you the space and encouragement to find your own strength. When you stop sharing every challenge, you create the space for personal growth. You stop allowing the world to dictate how you feel based on what you've shared. You stop relying on the reactions of others to determine how strong or capable you feel. Your strength is inside you, not in the validation you get from others. When you start facing your struggles quietly and confidently, you build resilience. You prove to yourself that you have what it takes to get through anything, without needing external recognition or sympathy. Now let me be clear, this doesn't mean you should bottle everything up and pretend that everything's okay when it's not. It doesn't mean you should suppress your emotions. What it means is that you don't need to share every detail with everyone around you. You don't need to turn every conversation into a recount of your difficulties. The more you talk about your struggles, the more they stay in your mind, and the harder it is to focus on finding solutions. When you stop sharing your problems with everyone, you begin to transform your mindset. You go from being a person who feels overwhelmed by life to a person who tackles challenges with a calm, focused approach. You stop feeling like life is happening to you and start feeling like you're in control of what happens next. This shift can be incredibly empowering. It's easy to get stuck in a cycle where we feel the need to constantly explain ourselves. We share our struggles with friends, family, and even strangers because we feel like if people understand our pain, they will validate us. But in reality, you don't need others to validate your struggles. You need to validate yourself by choosing to move forward, by choosing to take action, instead of dwelling on what's going wrong. The truth is, people will forget the struggles you've shared with them, but they will always remember the way you showed up in the world. They'll remember how you handled the tough times, how you showed resilience, how you kept pushing forward even when things weren't easy. And that's what matters. So what can you do to start taking control of your struggles today? Start by recognizing that your challenges are yours to handle. Instead of talking about what's wrong, start talking about what you're doing to make things better. Focus on the action you're taking, not the problems you're facing. Begin to shift your energy away from the issue itself and toward the solution. Stop looking for sympathy and start looking for answers. Seek out those who can help you take positive steps forward. Find the people who can help you grow, who can encourage you, and who can offer solutions, not just pity. And remember, you have the power. Every time you stop sharing your struggles with the world and focus on solving them, you are taking control. You are proving to yourself that you don't need anyone's approval to succeed. You don't need anyone's sympathy to find your strength. You have everything inside of you to overcome whatever life throws your way. So from now on, instead of telling everyone about your problems, let your actions speak louder than your words. Let your determination and resilience shine through. Let your progress be the story you tell. Because when you stop telling everyone what's going on in your life, that's when you truly start to take control. Number 2, protect your energy and keep your challenges to yourself. Protecting your energy is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself, especially when you're facing challenges. Everyone has their own battles to fight, but the way you choose to navigate those struggles, whether you let them drain you or empower you, can make all the difference. When you're in the middle of tough times, it's easy to let your energy get consumed by the weight of everything going wrong. But what if, instead of allowing your struggles to drain you, you kept them to yourself and focused on protecting your energy? Too often, people feel the need to share every challenge they face. They feel like they need to tell others what they're going through, to have someone understand, or maybe to get some advice or sympathy. But what they don't realize is that by constantly sharing their struggles, they're actually giving away their power. Every time you speak about your challenges, you're putting a part of yourself out there, leaving yourself vulnerable. And with that, you're also opening yourself up to external influences, other people's opinions, judgments, and energy that may not be in your best interest. It's not just about keeping things to yourself for the sake of secrecy. It's about understanding that you have limited emotional energy. And every time you share your struggles, you're giving away a piece of that energy. The more you share, the more that energy is consumed, leaving you with less to focus on solutions or to take action. When you protect your energy, you safeguard the most valuable resource you have, your ability to think clearly, to act decisively, and to create change. But it requires discipline and understanding. It's not about shutting down completely. It's about setting boundaries, choosing who you share with, and deciding how much of your energy you allow others to take. The truth is, many people in your life may not have the tools to help you process your struggles. While they may be well-meaning, they might not be able to offer the kind of support that truly moves you forward. Sometimes, they might unintentionally feed into your pain by offering advice that doesn't resonate, or by offering sympathy that leaves you feeling even more helpless. When you share too much, you risk inviting negativity into your life, and that negativity can weaken your resolve. It's like inviting someone into your home and letting them take over. You wouldn't let just anyone into your personal space, and your energy is no different. Think about how it feels when you're dealing with a challenge, and someone else adds to your emotional burden. Maybe they give you advice that's not helpful, or maybe they share their own struggles, making you feel like you're not doing enough to handle your own. Even though they don't mean to, they add weight to your already heavy load. When you constantly share your difficulties, you're opening the door for this kind of energy exchange. You may think you're finding a safe space, but in reality you might be giving away the very energy you need to stay strong and focused. By keeping your challenges to yourself, you protect your energy from being drained by others. You allow yourself the space to feel your emotions, process them, and find the solutions that work best for you. No one else can walk your journey or understand your specific challenges in the same way you do. You're the only one who truly understands the full context of what you're going through. And that's why it's essential to take the time to process your feelings and find clarity on your own, instead of looking for someone else to fix things or tell you what to do. When you focus on protecting your energy, you start to realize that not everyone needs to know what you're going through. The people around you may love you and care about you, but that doesn't mean they can always offer the kind of support you need. They may not know how to handle your struggles, or may unintentionally bring negativity into the situation. You might find that some people have a tendency to focus on the problem instead of helping you find solutions. They might dwell on the difficulties and leave you feeling even more bogged down. But when you choose to keep your challenges to yourself, you have the power to control where your energy goes. You decide what to focus on, and more importantly, you decide how much emotional investment to put into the struggle. By withholding details and focusing your energy on finding solutions, you keep yourself in a stronger position. You allow your mind and heart the clarity to think through the problem, take decisive action, and move forward with confidence. Another important aspect of protecting your energy is learning to set boundaries. Not everyone needs to know everything. You don't have to share every detail of your life with everyone around you. If you're struggling, it's okay to ask for help when needed. But that doesn't mean you have to give away all your energy in the process. Setting boundaries means learning to protect yourself emotionally and mentally. You get to decide how much you share and with whom. One of the most powerful things you can do for yourself is to become selective about who you let into your emotional space. Some people will lift you up, encourage you, and help you feel stronger. But others might bring you down, unintentionally or otherwise. And when you're going through tough times, the last thing you need is to have someone else add to your burden. By keeping your challenges to yourself, you maintain control of your emotional space. You get to choose who you let in and how much of your energy you share with others. Protecting your energy also means being careful about the type of people you surround yourself with. If you're constantly dealing with people who drain you emotionally, it's essential to evaluate the impact they have on your life. When you protect your energy, you protect your ability to focus, to stay strong, and to move forward. That means being mindful of who you let into your life, and ensuring that the people around you support your growth rather than hinder it. Now, I'm not saying you need to be cold or distant with people. You can still be kind and open, but you need to be intentional about where you place your emotional energy. You need to be careful about who you allow to share in your struggles, and who you let into your space during times of difficulty. If someone is consistently adding stress or negativity to your life, it might be time to reassess that relationship, or at the very least, limit your emotional investment. One of the most important lessons you can learn is that it's okay to be private. In fact, it's more than okay, it's necessary. Privacy isn't about shutting people out, It's about respecting yourself and protecting the energy you need to focus on your personal growth. It's about understanding that your struggles are a part of your journey, and they don't have to be shared with everyone. You can keep your challenges private, take care of your emotional well-being, and still move forward with strength and grace. When you protect your energy and keep your challenges to yourself, you create the mental and emotional space you need to grow, learn, and thrive. Instead of getting caught up in the noise of external opinions and judgments, you focus on what truly matters: your own actions, your own solutions, and your own path forward. You stop letting the opinions and emotions of others dictate your life, and you take control of your own narrative. Every day you get to choose how much energy you give away. Every day you decide where your focus will be, and by protecting your energy and keeping your challenges to yourself, you take one powerful step toward living the life you want, with strength, clarity, and confidence. Don't let your struggles define you. Take control, protect your energy, and move forward with power. You are capable, and the strength to overcome any challenge lies within you. Number 3, build strength by facing your problems in silence. Facing your problems in silence is one of the most powerful ways to build inner strength. In today's world, it's easy to get caught up in the noise, people talking about their struggles, seeking validation, and trying to make sense of everything they're going through. But what if I told you that true strength doesn't come from sharing your challenges with everyone around you? What if the key to overcoming your problems, finding peace, and becoming stronger than you've ever been lies in facing those challenges quietly within yourself? The world often tells us that we need to share, vent, or talk through our problems with others to find a solution. We're conditioned to believe that someone else's perspective, advice, or sympathy will help ease the weight of what we're carrying. But in reality, constantly seeking external validation can lead to more confusion, more uncertainty, and ultimately, more weakness. It's not about shutting people out entirely. It's about recognizing that the real work of overcoming difficulties begins from within. When you face your problems in silence, you're taking control of your own narrative. You're not relying on anyone else to validate your experience or tell you what you should do. You're deciding for yourself that you have the power to face your challenges head on, without waiting for external permission or guidance. This doesn't mean you don't ever ask for help, or that you should isolate yourself from others. But it does mean that you are strong enough to process your struggles without needing to make them everyone else's problem. The moment you share your struggles too openly, you risk giving up control over your own situation. Other people's opinions, advice, and judgments can start to cloud your judgment, and you may lose sight of what you truly need to do to fix the problem. When you face your challenges in silence, you create the mental space you need to think clearly, to make sound decisions, and to take the necessary steps to move forward. It's not about ignoring your problems or pretending they don't exist. It's about taking responsibility for your own life and finding solutions from within. There is something deeply empowering about dealing with your difficulties privately. It allows you to process your emotions, understand your thoughts, and make sense of the situation without the influence of others. In silence, you get to know yourself better. You get to confront your fears, your doubts, and your weaknesses head on. When you do this, you become more resilient, more self-reliant, and more capable of handling whatever comes your way. We've all been there, facing a difficult situation and feeling the urge to talk to someone about it. Maybe you want to share your frustration, get some advice, or simply have someone listen to you. And while there's nothing wrong with seeking support, the habit of constantly sharing your problems can weaken you. You become reliant on others for your emotional stability, and this dependency can keep you stuck in a cycle of needing validation. If you want to truly grow, you need to break free from this cycle. You need to build the strength to face your problems on your own. Facing problems in silence doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. It doesn't mean bottling up your feelings or pretending everything is okay when it's not. It simply means not letting those feelings control you, not letting them dictate your action. It means allowing yourself to experience your emotions without letting them overwhelm you or define you. You can feel the anger, the sadness, the frustration, but you don't have to let those emotions take the wheel. You can feel those things, acknowledge them, and then move forward with a sense of purpose and direction. One of the most important things you can do for yourself is to take ownership of your problems. When you face them quietly, you take full responsibility for the situation, without looking to others for validation or permission to act. You take charge of your life, your choices, and your actions. You stop blaming external circumstances or people for your struggles. Instead, you focus on what you can control, your thoughts, your actions, and your mindset. This is the foundation of true strength. When you build strength by facing your problems in silence, you also learn the value of patience. Many people, when faced with a challenge, want quick solutions. They want answers now. They want someone to tell them what to do. But the reality is that the most profound changes take time. When you confront your difficulties quietly, you allow yourself the time to think, to reflect, and to make decisions that are in line with your goals and values. You stop rushing through life and start moving with purpose and intention. Another benefit of facing your problems in silence is that it allows you to build a deeper connection with yourself. When you're constantly seeking validation from others, you can lose touch with your own intuition, your own inner voice. You become so focused on what others think and say that you forget to listen to yourself. But when you face your problems quietly, you get to tune into your own thoughts and feelings. You get to discover what really matters to you, what you really want, and what you're truly capable of. This self-awareness is the key to building inner strength. In silence, you also learn to trust yourself. You become more confident in your ability to handle difficult situations. You stop looking to others for approval or guidance, and you start looking within for the answers. This doesn't mean you'll always have the answers right away, but you'll trust that you have the ability to figure things out. You'll know that you're capable of navigating whatever challenges come your way. This self-trust is an incredibly powerful thing. It's the foundation of personal growth and resilience. You'll also discover that when you face your problems in silence, you develop a greater sense of gratitude. The more you take responsibility for your challenges and work through them on your own, the more you begin to appreciate the lessons that come from hardship. You begin to see that every difficulty is an opportunity for growth, an opportunity to build strength. Instead of complaining about your struggles or wishing they were different, you start to recognize the value in the experience. You become more focused on the process of becoming stronger rather than the outcome of solving the problem. The more you face challenges in silence, the more you begin to see the power of persistence. It's easy to give up when things get hard, especially when you're looking for external validation or solutions. But when you face your problems alone, you learn to push through even when it seems like there's no easy way out. You develop the strength to keep going, to keep fighting, and to keep moving forward, even when the road is tough. And this is what truly builds resilience. You also learn the importance of emotional control. When you face problems quietly, you realize that your emotions don't have to control your actions. You can acknowledge your feelings, but you don't have to let them drive you into impulsive decisions. This emotional control is a key component of inner strength. It allows you to think more clearly, to make better choices, and to respond to challenges with calm and confidence. The power of facing your problems in silence is not about shutting the world out. It's not about isolating yourself or ignoring your actions. It's about taking the time to process your feelings and thoughts, to reflect on what's happening, and to find solutions that align with your goals and values. It's about building the strength to handle your challenges on your own terms, without relying on others for validation or approval. By facing your problems in silence, you become the strongest version of yourself, a version that is self-reliant, self-confident, and capable of handling anything life throws your way. When you can face your problems quietly, you'll realize that you have the power to change your life. You'll stop looking outside of yourself for answers, and you'll start trusting that you have everything you need within you. You'll become more resilient, more resourceful, and more powerful. You'll know that you can face any problem, no matter how big or small, and find a way through it. This is the path to true strength. The strength that comes from within. The strength that comes from facing your challenges with quiet confidence. The strength that allows you to grow and thrive, no matter what life brings your way. Number 4. Stop seeking sympathy and start taking real action. Seeking sympathy can feel comforting in the short term, but if you want to transform your life and truly make progress, it's time to shift your focus. When you seek sympathy, you're essentially asking others to acknowledge your pain or your difficulties. While it's natural to want to be heard, relying on others' sympathy won't get you any closer to solving your problems. Instead of seeking sympathy, it's time to stop and reflect. It's time to take real action, face your challenges, and move forward. Seeking sympathy may feel like a way to gain validation for your feelings, but the truth is that it doesn't lead to growth. It doesn't lead to solutions. It doesn't provide you with the tools you need to fix what's broken in your life. It's easy to fall into the trap of feeling overwhelmed and reaching out for comfort. But in the long run, this only keeps you stuck in the cycle of struggle. People may offer words of comfort, but words alone don't solve problems. Action does. Think about it when you tell others about your struggles. What are you really trying to accomplish? Are you looking for a solution? Or are you looking for someone to just acknowledge how tough things are for you? There's a big difference between sharing your struggles and seeking real solutions. When you're constantly sharing your challenges with others, you're giving your energy away. You're focusing more on the problem than the solution. And this can keep you from taking the steps necessary to move forward. Taking real action starts with shifting your mindset. It's about understanding that no one else is going to fix your life for you. While support from others is important, you must learn to take ownership of your own journey. When you take responsibility for your circumstances, you stop waiting for someone to come to your rescue. You start thinking about what you can do to change the situation, to improve your life. This is where true power lies, in your ability to take action, to make decisions, and to move forward despite the obstacles in your way. The first step in this process is to stop looking for validation from others. It's easy to slip into the habit of telling your story over and over, looking for someone to tell you, "I understand," or "You're doing your best." While this might make you feel good for a moment, it won't help you get closer to your goals. It won't bring you any closer to solving your problems. In fact, it might keep you stuck in the cycle of feeling sorry for yourself. Instead of seeking sympathy, start looking for ways to take responsibility for your own life. Ask yourself, what can I do today to improve my situation? What steps can I take right now to move forward? When you stop seeking sympathy, you start taking control of your narrative. You stop letting your struggles define you, and instead you define yourself by the actions you take. You begin to understand that your circumstances don't have to determine your outcome. Your ability to take action, to make decisions, and to keep moving forward in the face of adversity is what will shape your future. And that's where the power lies. It's also important to recognize that seeking sympathy can sometimes keep you from seeing the bigger picture. When you're focused on getting others to feel sorry for you, you're not focusing on the solutions. You're not focused on what needs to happen next. This means you can become complacent, stuck in the negative emotions surrounding your struggles. But when you stop seeking sympathy, you start to see things clearly. You stop focusing on the problems and start looking for the solutions. You begin to think differently. You start asking yourself how you can improve your situation, how you can take action, and how you can create change. Action is the antidote to despair. It's the solution to frustration and overwhelm. Every step you take, no matter how small, moves you closer to the life you want. But you can't take action if you're stuck in the loop of seeking sympathy. The moment you shift your focus away from your need for validation and turn it toward action, things will start to change. You will stop being a passive observer of your own life and start being an active participant in shaping your future. Sometimes seeking sympathy comes from a place of fear. We fear that if we don't share our struggles, others won't understand us and we'll be left alone. But the truth is, you are stronger than you think. You don't need anyone's pity. You need the courage to face your challenges head on, without waiting for someone else to tell you what to do. When you stop seeking sympathy, you step into your power. You stop waiting for permission to move forward, and instead you take action. What would your life look like if you stopped waiting for someone else to fix your problems? What if you took full responsibility for your life and started taking action every day? No matter how small the steps might be, how would your mindset shift? How would your confidence grow? When you stop seeking sympathy, you stop giving away your power. You take charge of your life and your future. Taking real action doesn't mean you won't face difficulties. Life is full of challenges, and there will be moments when you feel uncertain, frustrated, or defeated. But the difference is that when you take action, you don't let those feelings control you. You acknowledge them, but you don't let them define your next move. Instead of staying stuck in a place of helplessness, you decide to move forward. You start doing what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel in the moment. One of the most important things you can do is to break down your problems into manageable steps. When you're overwhelmed by a challenge, It's easy to get paralyzed by the magnitude of it all. But when you focus on taking small, consistent actions, you start to see progress. This is how change happens. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens one step at a time. And the more you take action, the more momentum you build, and the more you realize that you have the ability to change your circumstances. There is incredible power in taking action. It empowers you to shift from being a victim of your circumstances to being the architect of your life. Action is what transforms your vision into reality. It turns your dreams into goals, and your goals into accomplishments. So instead of focusing on seeking sympathy, shift your energy into building your own momentum. Take the first step, even if it feels small, and then take the next one, and the next one, until you start to see real change. Number 5. Focus on solutions, and stop talking about problems. Most people spend too much time talking about problems, and not enough time focusing on solutions. And the reason is simple. They think that talking about their problems will somehow make them feel better. They believe that if they share what's wrong with enough people, they will get the sympathy or support they need to feel better. But in reality, all they're doing is reinforcing their problems, making them larger, and trapping themselves in a cycle of negativity. If you want to change your life, if you want to achieve anything significant, you have to make a conscious decision. Focus on solutions and stop talking about problems. Think about it. Every time you bring up an issue, every time you talk about what's wrong, you are pulling your attention away from what can be done to fix it. You're giving more power to the problem rather than looking for ways to solve it. The more you focus on the negative, the more you reinforce it in your mind. And the more you reinforce it in your mind, the bigger it becomes. It's a vicious cycle that keeps you stuck in the same place. But when you choose to focus on solutions instead of problems, everything changes. The moment you turn your attention towards solving the issue at hand, you take back control. You stop being a passive observer of your life and become an active participant in your success. You stop complaining and start creating. The most successful people in the world have one thing in common. They are solution-oriented. They look at a problem, assess the situation, and then immediately start thinking about how to fix it. They don't waste time talking about what went wrong. They focus on what they can do to make things right. This doesn't mean that you ignore your problems or pretend they don't exist. That's not the point. The point is, every problem is an opportunity for a solution. And the more you focus on finding that solution, the quicker you'll move forward. When you stop talking about the problem, you stop fueling it. You stop feeding the negativity that keeps you stuck. And instead, you begin to create forward momentum towards something better. Every time you talk about your problem, you take time away from finding a solution. Every minute you spend venting or complaining is a minute you could be using to come up with an answer. And you have to ask yourself, how much time are you willing to waste on something that won't change your situation? How long are you willing to let a problem control your life? Let's be clear, problems will always arise. Life isn't perfect, and setbacks are a part of the journey. But your ability to deal with those setbacks, to push through them, to find solutions, that's what will determine how far you go. That's what will determine your level of success. So instead of talking about what's wrong, ask yourself, what can I do to make this better? This simple shift in focus will change everything for you. It will take your energy away from the problem and direct it toward a solution. And that's how you create progress. That's how you move forward, even when things are tough. The more you focus on solutions, the more you strengthen your ability to problem solve. The more you develop the mindset that problems are simply opportunities for growth, the more confident and resilient you'll become. You will begin to see every obstacle as something that can be overcome, not something that will stop you in your tracks. But let me be honest with you, focusing on solutions requires effort. It's easier to complain. It's easier to vent to someone else. It's easier to stay in your comfort zone and dwell on the negative. But the successful people, the ones who accomplish great things, they don't take the easy road. They don't get bogged down by the problem. They look for ways to fix it, and that's why they succeed. So ask yourself, how much longer are you going to stay in the problem zone? How many times are you going to share your struggles with people who won't be able to help? How many times are you going to feel defeated when all you really need to do is shift your focus? Imagine for a moment what your life would look like if you stopped talking out your problems. Imagine how much more progress you'd make if every time you encountered a setback, you immediately turned your attention toward finding a solution. The energy you'd save, the momentum you'd gain, and the results you'd see, it would be transformational. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but Jim, I need someone to listen to me. I need to vent. I need to get this out. And I get it. Everyone needs to be heard from time to time. But here's the key. You don't need to vent to everyone. You don't need to make your problems everyone else's problems. Find a mentor, a coach, or someone who can help you move forward. But don't just talk about your problems to anyone who will listen. Don't waste time getting sympathy from people who can't help you solve anything. And remember, venting doesn't solve problems. Talking about them doesn't solve them. The only thing that solves problems is taking action. It's moving from theory to practice. It's finding a way, no matter how difficult the road may seem. If you're tired of feeling stuck, if you're tired of talking about the same things over and over again, then it's time to stop talking about your problems. It's time to start focusing on solutions. And here's the best part. You don't have to wait for someone else to give you the answers. You can find solutions on your own. You have the power to figure it out. You have the ability to solve any problem you face, as long as you're willing to look for the solution, instead of just dwelling on the problem. The truth is, you're stronger than you think. You have more resources at your disposal than you realize. But as long as you're stuck in problem mode, you're limiting yourself. You're holding yourself back from the greatness you're capable of. So take control today. Stop talking about the problem and start finding the solution. Shift your focus from what's wrong to what can be done. Stop giving energy to negativity and start putting that energy into creating something positive. The moment you make that shift, you'll be amazed at how quickly things start to change. Problems will no longer feel like roadblocks. They'll feel like stepping stones, and you'll be on your way to achieving things you once thought were impossible. Because success is not about avoiding problems. It's about finding solutions. And when you focus on solutions, you unlock your full potential. You become unstoppable. So from this moment on, make a commitment to yourself. Stop talking about problems. Focus on solutions. Every time you encounter a setback, every time you hit a wall, ask yourself, what's the solution? What can I do to move forward? And take action. Because that's the key to success. Focus on solutions, and everything else will follow. Number 6. Move forward and stop telling everyone your struggles. If you want to achieve anything of significance in life, you have to learn how to move forward. Too many people get stuck in the past, rehashing their struggles, replaying the same stories over and over again, and wondering why they're not getting anywhere. They want sympathy. They want validation. They want people to understand their pain. But here's the hard truth. Nobody can move you forward except you. When you constantly tell everyone about your struggles, you're not just sharing your story. You're keeping yourself rooted in it. You're holding yourself back from moving on, from growing, from getting to the next level. And the worst part is, you might not even realize you're doing it. You might think that by telling someone else your problems, you're getting closer to a solution. But the reality is, you're simply staying stuck in the problem. The moment you decide to move forward, really move forward, you stop telling everyone your struggles. You stop using your challenges as an excuse to stay where you are. You stop dwelling on what went wrong and focus on what you can do to make things right. You stop telling people about the obstacles in your life and start showing them how you overcome them. Here's the thing. Every time you talk about your struggles, you reinforce them. You pull them into the present and breathe life into them. And I'm not saying that your struggles aren't real. They are. But by talking about them repeatedly, you're not just acknowledging them, you're giving them energy. You're letting them define you. You're letting them dictate how you feel, how you think, and how you act. And this will keep you from moving forward. When you stop telling people your struggles, you stop holding on to them. You stop letting them control your life. Instead of continuing to live in the past, you focus on the future. You turn your energy toward what's ahead. And that's when you start moving forward. Think about it. The most successful people in the world, people who have achieved extraordinary things, they don't sit around talking about what's wrong in their lives. They don't waste time explaining their difficulties or complaining about their situations. They acknowledge the struggles, yes, but they don't dwell on them. They acknowledge them, take action, and move on. When you keep talking about your struggles, you're making them bigger than they are. You're giving them more power. Every time you repeat a story of hardship or failure, you're subconsciously reminding yourself of your limitations. You're reminding yourself of your inability to move past it. But when you stop talking about your struggles, you're no longer feeding that negativity. You're no longer giving it the power to hold you back. And this doesn't just apply to external struggles. This applies to the internal battles you face as well. We all have negative thoughts, doubts, and insecurities. But the more you tell others about them, the more you reinforce them in your own mind. You're not just sharing a thought, you're solidifying it. You're telling yourself, this is who I am. I can't change this. I can't move past it. But when you stop telling others about your doubts and fears, you begin to take control. You begin to believe that you can change. You begin to see that your struggles don't define you. They shape you, yes, but they don't determine your future unless you let them. Moving forward isn't about ignoring your struggles or pretending they don't exist. It's about accepting them, learning from them, and choosing to focus on what you can do to get better. Every setback is an opportunity for growth. Every obstacle is a chance to improve your skills, your mindset, your resilience. But that doesn't happen when you stay focused on the problem. It happens when you focus on the solution and take action. Here's something you need to understand. Nobody else is responsible for moving you forward. Not your family, not your friends, not your coworkers. It's all on you. You are the only person who can change your life. You are the one who decides whether you stay stuck or whether you move forward. And the first step is to stop telling everyone your struggles. The more you talk about your difficulties, the more you identify with them. The more you define yourself by your struggles, the more you feel trapped in them. But when you stop talking about them, you detach yourself from them. You no longer see yourself as the person who is constantly facing hardship. You begin to see yourself as someone who overcomes challenges. You see yourself as a problem solver, as someone who keeps moving forward, no matter what. Let me ask you this. How many times have you told the same story about something that went wrong in your life? How many times have you replayed a failure or hardship, hoping that by sharing it again you'll somehow feel better? But here's the thing. Repeating the story won't change the outcome. It won't make you feel better in the long run. It won't fix anything. All it does is keep you focused on what went wrong, instead of what you can do to make things right. If you truly want to move forward, you have to stop telling that story. You have to stop rehashing your struggles. You need to stop seeing yourself as the victim of circumstances and start seeing yourself as the hero in your own life. The hero doesn't stay stuck in the past. The hero moves forward, learns from mistakes, and grows stronger with every challenge they face. And that's the mindset you need to adopt. Think about it. How often do you hear successful people telling the world about their struggles? Do they constantly talk about their failures, their hardships, or their setbacks? No, they don't. They acknowledge them, but they don't dwell on them. They don't let them define who they are or what they're capable of. They move forward, and that's what you need to do as well. You might be thinking, but Jim, how do I move forward if I can't talk about my struggles? And here's the truth. Moving forward doesn't require talking about your problems. It requires taking action. It requires focusing on what's next, not what went wrong. It requires making the decision to move on, to stop looking back, and to put your energy into creating a better future. Now, I'm not saying that you should bottle everything up or never talk to anyone about your challenges. What I'm saying is that you shouldn't let your struggles define you. You shouldn't let them consume you. You shouldn't keep repeating the same stories to everyone who will listen, hoping that someone will fix it for you. Take responsibility, take action, and move forward. Remember, you are the one who decides how your story unfolds. You are the one who chooses whether you stay stuck in the past or whether you move forward into the future. You are the one who controls your own destiny. And the first step to moving forward is to stop telling everyone your struggles and start focusing on your solutions. The longer you stay stuck in the past, the longer you'll delay your progress. But when you let go of those past stories, when you stop holding on to your struggles, and when you focus on the future, you open yourself up to growth, success, and achievement. It's time to stop looking back. It's time to move forward. The future is waiting for you. Number 7. Show results and stop explaining your difficulties to others. If you want to make an impact, if you want to see real change in your life, there comes a point where you need to stop explaining your difficulties and start showing results. Too many people spend their time talking about the obstacles they face, explaining why things aren't working, and seeking validation from others for their struggles. But here's the hard truth. People aren't impressed by explanations. They're impressed by results. When you focus on showing results, you stop worrying about explaining your difficulties. You stop waiting for someone to understand your problems. You stop seeking sympathy or validation. You stop thinking that if you just tell someone how hard it is, they'll give you the support you need to get through it. Instead, you start to think, how can I turn this around? How can I make this work? And that shift, when you start thinking more about solutions and results than about the difficulties you face, is when everything starts to change. Let me be clear. Everyone faces challenges. No one gets through life without encountering some form of hardship or adversity. But the difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't the nature of the challenges they face. It's their response to those challenges. Successful people don't sit around explaining their struggles. They don't waste time talking about the difficulties they encounter. They simply show up, do the work, and let their results speak for themselves. When things get tough, they dig in, they find solutions, and they keep moving forward. That's the mindset you need to adopt if you want to see results in your life. It's not about talking about the problems or seeking empathy. It's about taking action, finding solutions, and showing the world what you're capable of. And when you start showing results, people will stop questioning your journey. They'll stop wondering why you're struggling and start admiring your progress. They'll see you as someone who is unstoppable, someone who faces challenges head on and overcomes them. Now, I want you to think for a moment about how much energy you're spending explaining your difficulties to others. How many conversations have you had where you've told someone about what's wrong, what's not working, what's holding you back? And how many of those conversations have resulted in actual solutions or change? The truth is, talking about your problems doesn't solve them. It just keeps you focused on the negative, on what's wrong, on what's standing in your way. Instead of spending your time explaining your difficulties, channel that energy into taking action. Focus on what you can do, not on what's preventing you from doing it. The moment you stop explaining your struggles to others is the moment you start taking ownership of your success. You stop waiting for someone else to fix it for you, and you start looking for ways to fix it yourself. And here's the beauty of it. When you start showing results, when you start taking meaningful action and achieving progress, everything changes. People will stop questioning your ability to succeed. They'll stop asking why things are so hard for you. They'll stop doubting you. Instead, they'll start looking at your results and thinking, how did they do that? They'll start seeing you as someone who gets things done, who makes things happen. And that's how you build respect. That's how you gain credibility. It's not through endless explanations. It's through results. Think about the most successful people you know. Do they sit around telling everyone about their struggles? Do they explain every difficulty they face? No, they don't. They go out and do the work. They show up, put in the effort, and they let their actions speak for themselves. When you focus on showing results, instead of explaining difficulties, you take the focus off of your problems and place it on your achievements. And the more you do that, the more successful you become. When you stop explaining your struggles, you stop identifying with them. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is always struggling, always fighting, always battling against the odds. And when you stop seeing yourself that way, you start to see yourself as someone who is capable of overcoming challenges. You start seeing yourself as someone who can find solutions, who can make things happen. You begin to take ownership of your success and stop waiting for someone else to give it to you. Now, I understand that sometimes it can feel good to talk to someone about your difficulties. Sometimes it's natural to want to share what you're going through, to seek validation, to feel like someone understands. But here's the reality. Sympathy does not change your situation. Empathy does not pay your bills, does not get you to the next level, and does not help you reach your goals. What changes your situation is action. What moves you forward is showing up every day, doing the work, and letting your results speak for themselves. You might be wondering, but Jim, what about the people in my life? What if they don't understand what I'm going through? Well, here's the thing. The people who truly care about you aren't looking for you to explain your struggles. They're looking for you to show them that you're doing everything you can to improve your situation. They want to see that you're actively working toward your goals, that you're taking responsibility for your own life, and that you're committed to making progress. When you show results, you show people that you're serious. You show them that you're not just talking about your difficulties, but that you're working on overcoming them. And that's the kind of person people respect. That's the kind of person people want to be around. The person who doesn't make excuses, who doesn't dwell on their difficulties, but who takes action and gets things done. And let me tell you something, the more results you show, the more you build your confidence. When you stop explaining your struggles and focus on your progress, you start to see the fruits of your labor. You start to see the results of your hard work, and that reinforces the belief in yourself. You begin to realize that you are capable of achieving anything you set your mind to. You start to see that your efforts are paying off, and that momentum builds. And with momentum, there's no stopping you. You don't need to explain your struggles to anyone. You don't need anyone's permission to move forward. All you need to do is keep moving, keep working, and keep showing up. The more you focus on your results and less on your difficulties, the more successful you'll become. If you're ready to make a change, if you're ready to get serious about your goals, it's time to stop explaining your struggles and start showing results. Take ownership of your life, your decisions, and your future. Start taking action and let your results speak for themselves. And remember this, success doesn't come from talking about your difficulties. Success comes from doing the work, overcoming the challenges, and showing the world what you're capable of. Let your results be the proof of your effort, and let your actions define your success. Stop explaining your difficulties. Stop seeking validation. Stop making excuses. Show the world what you can do by delivering results. That's the path to true success. That's how you win. Number 8, develop inner power by keeping your battles private. If you want to tap into your true potential, if you want to build real strength and resilience, one of the most powerful things you can do is keep your battles private. Too many people think they need to share everything with the world in order to feel understood or validated. But the truth is, the more you expose your inner struggles, the less power you retain over them. When you keep your battles private, you allow yourself the space to grow, to learn, and to move forward without external distractions or judgments. We all face challenges. We all encounter moments in life where we feel overwhelmed, defeated, or unsure. That's part of the human experience. But here's the key. Those struggles are personal. They belong to you. They're meant to teach you something, to strengthen you, and to help you become the person you're meant to be. But when you share every battle with the world, you lose the opportunity to learn from it in silence. You dilute your power, and you invite unnecessary opinions into your journey. Think about it. How much time do you spend explaining your difficulties to others? How often do you feel the need to justify your struggles, to seek sympathy, or to have someone tell you that they understand what you're going through? It's human nature to want validation, but validation doesn't solve problems. It only temporarily soothes your emotions, but it doesn't build your strength or help you grow. When you keep your battles private, you give yourself the chance to develop your inner power. You allow yourself to process the struggle on your own terms, without the noise of other people's perspectives clouding your judgment. One of the most powerful ways to build inner strength is to face your battles alone. When you deal with a problem in private, you don't have anyone else's opinion to consider. You don't have to explain yourself or worry about how others perceive you. You simply have to focus on finding a solution, on navigating through the challenge, and on growing stronger as a result. This is how you develop real power, the power to control your own mind, your own emotions, and your own actions. The truth is, when you share your struggles too openly, you not only expose yourself to the judgments and opinions of others, but you also make the problem bigger than it really is. Every time you speak about a problem, you give it life. You draw more attention to it. You rehash it, replay it, and keep it in your mind. And the more you do that, the more it grows. Your struggles become the focus of your thoughts, and your energy goes into reinforcing the very thing you're trying to overcome. But when you keep your battles private, you take control. You decide how much energy you give to the problem. You decide how to handle it, how to learn from it, and how to move past it. You don't let anyone else's opinions or judgments influence your ability to move forward. You remain centered and focused on your growth. This is the essence of inner power, the ability to confront your challenges without letting them define you or take away your energy. Let's talk about energy for a moment. Every time you share your struggles with someone else, you give away a piece of your energy. You're not only talking about your challenges, but you're also putting your emotional state into someone else's hands. They now have a say in how you feel, and if they don't respond in the way you want, you can end up feeling even worse. You end up relying on others for your emotional well-being, and that's a dangerous place to be. But when you keep your struggles private, you protect your energy. You take ownership of your feelings. You decide how you want to handle the situation. You stay in control of your emotional state, and you choose where to focus your energy. And when you protect your energy, you increase your capacity to face challenges with clarity, strength, and resilience. Inner power isn't just about being tough or strong. It's about being in control. It's about learning how to respond to challenges with calm, focus, and determination. When you keep your battles private, you give yourself the space to process things on your own. You don't have to explain every detail or justify every decision. You can simply trust yourself, trust your instincts, and trust that you have the ability to find a solution. Think about the most successful people you know. They don't broadcast every problem they face. They don't make a public spectacle of their difficulties. Instead, they deal with their struggles quietly, privately, and with dignity. They know that the key to building inner strength is not in seeking validation from others, but in trusting themselves to navigate the journey on their own. They focus on solutions, not on complaining or explaining their hardships, and that's why they succeed. Now, I'm not saying you should never talk to anyone about your problems. What I'm saying is that your struggles are personal. They're your responsibility. You don't need to tell everyone what's going on in your life in order to get the support or attention you think you need. When you keep your battles private, you protect your inner peace, you prevent the distractions that can take you off course, and you give yourself the opportunity to grow in silence, which is often when the greatest transformations happen. When you choose to keep your battles private, you choose to operate from a place of strength. You stop seeking validation, you stop fishing for sympathy, and you stop explaining yourself. You become someone who deals with challenges head-on, quietly, and with purpose. You don't need the approval of others to validate your experiences. You don't need anyone else's permission to move forward. You simply move. You take action. You learn, you grow, and you do all of this without seeking applause or approval. In the process, you also learn to rely on yourself. The more you face your struggles in private, the more you trust your own instincts and abilities. You begin to understand that you have everything you need to solve your problems. You become resourceful, creative, and confident in your own decisions. You don't need to look outside of yourself for answers. You start to recognize that the power to overcome challenges is already inside you. All you have to do is tap into it. And here's the beauty of it. When you keep your battles private, you also preserve your sense of peace. You don't let the opinions of others or their judgments disturb your inner calm. You stay grounded in your own truth. You remain focused on your journey, not on the distractions that others may present. You learn to stand strong, to trust yourself, and to keep moving forward, regardless of what's going on around you. So how do you build that inner power? It starts with protecting your battles. It starts with realizing that your struggles are personal. You don't need to explain them to anyone, and you don't need to seek approval or sympathy. You need to take ownership of your challenges and handle them with grace, focus, and determination. You need to protect your energy, preserve your peace, and keep your journey to yourself. And as you do that, you'll start to notice something remarkable. You'll become stronger. You'll become more resilient. You'll begin to trust yourself more. You'll develop the kind of inner power that doesn't need to be validated by others, because it's rooted in your own belief in yourself. So moving forward, when life presents you with a battle, keep it private. Face it with strength, handle it with dignity, and let your actions speak louder than your words. Your true power will come not from explaining your struggles to others, but from the quiet confidence that you can face anything that comes your way and come out stronger on the other side. Number 9. Respect yourself and stop oversharing your personal issues. When you truly respect yourself, you recognize the importance of protecting your personal space, especially when it comes to sharing your struggles and challenges. Oversharing your personal issues is one of the quickest ways to lose respect, not just from others, but from yourself. The act of revealing too much about your life, your problems, your vulnerabilities, without thought or discretion, does more harm than good. In fact, it erodes the very foundation of self-respect you've worked so hard to build. Respecting yourself means understanding that your personal life, your deepest struggles and your private battles are yours to navigate, not for public consumption. The world doesn't need to know every detail of what's going wrong. Your internal world, your mind, your heart, your soul requires protection. When you overshare, you invite judgment, unwanted opinions, and you open up a window into your personal life that can often be met with indifference or unhelpful advice. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you found yourself telling someone about a problem in your life, only to later feel embarrassed, vulnerable, or regretful for opening up too much? Or how many times have you shared personal issues with someone, only to have them respond in a way that made you feel worse instead of better? Oversharing often leads to more harm than help. It doesn't bring solutions. It doesn't build you up. It doesn't empower you to move forward. Respect begins with the simple act of setting boundaries. It's the acknowledgement that not everyone needs to know your business. Not everyone has earned the right to be in your personal space. You have the right to keep certain things private. You have the right to navigate your struggles on your own terms, without feeling obligated to share them with the world for validation or sympathy. Self-respect is rooted in knowing what to share, when to share, and with whom. You don't need to explain every setback, every challenge, or every difficulty to anyone who happens to cross your path. Oversharing your personal issues is a form of weakness, not strength. It sends the message that you are helpless and looking for others to fix your problems or provide the emotional support you should be able to give yourself. The truth is, no one can solve your problems for you. No one else can fight your battles or make your decisions. The more you look to others for validation or sympathy, the less control you have over your own life. You give away your power when you reveal too much. You lose your sense of dignity and self-worth when you constantly seek attention for your struggles. You become dependent on others to boost your confidence instead of finding the strength within yourself. Let's dig deeper into the idea of self-respect. At its core, self-respect is about maintaining your dignity in the face of adversity. It's about staying true to yourself and not allowing the difficulties of life to dictate your behavior or your emotional state. It's about recognizing that your journey is yours to walk, and it's okay to keep certain things to yourself as you figure out how to move forward. When you respect yourself, you understand that the things you share with others should be meaningful, purposeful, and valuable, not just a cry for attention or a way to vent your frustrations. Think about the kind of people you admire. Are they the ones who constantly talk about their problems, seeking sympathy from others? Or are they the ones who handle their challenges with grace and composure, without needing to explain themselves or justify their actions to anyone? People respect those who maintain their dignity, who remain calm under pressure, and who don't let their personal struggles define them. It's not to say that you should bottle up everything inside. There is a time and a place for confiding in trusted friends or family members, but the difference is in the intention behind it. When you overshare out of a need for sympathy or validation, you're not respecting yourself. But when you share with someone because you genuinely trust them and believe their perspective will help you, that's a different story. It's about finding balance and knowing when to keep things private for your own well-being. When you overshare, you lose control over your narrative. You give others the power to judge you, to label you, and to make assumptions about your character based on what you've shared. People's opinions are often formed based on what they know of you. And when you overshare your personal issues, you allow them to form their judgments prematurely. They may not have the full context of your struggles, the depth of your pain, or the wisdom you've gained from them. By sharing too much, you risk distorting how others perceive you, and that can lead to unnecessary complications in your relationships. Self-respect means understanding that you have the right to keep your personal issues to yourself. It's not about being secretive or hiding behind a mask. It's about maintaining your privacy and protecting your emotional space. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your personal struggles. You don't need to seek approval or sympathy from anyone. Instead, focus on handling your challenges in silence, with dignity, and on your own terms. This is where true power lies. When you stop oversharing, you start to feel more grounded. You stop seeking approval and start trusting yourself. You begin to understand that your self-worth isn't tied to the opinions or judgments of others. You realize that you don't need to explain yourself to anyone because you already know who you are and what you stand for. Respecting yourself is about taking ownership of your life. It's about saying, I don't need to explain myself to anyone. I know what I'm doing, and I trust myself to make the right decisions. When you stop oversharing your personal issues, you stop giving away your power. You stop letting other people's judgments affect how you feel about yourself. And most importantly, you stop letting your problems define you. Think of your personal issues as valuable lessons in your life. They are part of your growth, part of your evolution. They don't need to be shared with everyone. You don't need to justify your feelings, your actions, or your journey. Instead, learn from your experiences in silence. Find strength in knowing that you have the ability to handle whatever comes your way. When you stop oversharing, you take control of the narrative. You don't let your struggles define who you are. Instead, you define who you are by how you handle your challenges. The more you protect your personal space, the more respect you'll gain, not just from others, but from yourself. You'll find that you are capable of so much more than you realize. When you learn to keep your battles private, you'll discover a deeper sense of peace, self-confidence, and resilience. Self-respect is not about hiding your pain or pretending that everything is fine when it's not. It's about recognizing that you are stronger than your struggles. It's about understanding that you have the power to deal with challenges without needing validation from others. It's about honoring yourself enough to protect your inner world and handle your battles with dignity and grace. So if you want to build true self-respect, stop oversharing. Keep your personal issues private. Handle your struggles with strength and resilience. And when you do share with purpose, not to gain sympathy, but to find solutions and support that will truly help you grow. When you respect yourself in this way, you'll find that your personal power expands, and you'll become a force to be reckoned with, strong, confident, and capable of handling whatever life throws your way. Number 10, turn your pain into progress without telling the world. Pain is inevitable, but how you deal with it is what will shape your future. It's a universal experience. We all face difficult times, moments of suffering, loss, disappointment, and failure. But what separates those who thrive from those who get stuck in their pain is the ability to turn that pain into progress. The key to doing this, though, is something many don't realize. You don't need to broadcast your struggles to the world. You don't need the validation of others to prove that you're going through tough times. And you certainly don't need to seek sympathy or pity from the people around you. The real strength comes from facing your pain in silence, transforming it, and using it as fuel to move forward. Turning pain into progress is a personal journey that requires focus, inner strength, and the ability to keep your eyes on the goal instead of lingering on the hurt. When you're in pain, it's easy to become consumed by it. Pain has a way of making everything else fade into the background. It can take away your clarity, distort your perspective, and make you feel like you're sinking in a sea of frustration. But if you can step back and look at your pain as a tool for growth instead of a burden, you will discover something powerful. Pain is not the enemy. It is a teacher. It's easy to get stuck in your pain, to tell the world about your struggles and seek attention. There's a temptation to air out your frustrations, to get others to sympathize with you, and to wallow in the validation you receive in return. But that only keeps you stuck in the very cycle of pain you're trying to escape. When you keep talking about the pain, you keep reliving it. Every time you repeat your story, you bring yourself back to that place of hurt, and it becomes harder to move forward. Instead, consider the power of silence. When you're in pain, instead of expressing it to the world, take that energy and turn it inward. Use that energy to push you forward. Use it to transform your situation, to figure out the solutions, to keep moving in a direction that will eventually bring you to a place of healing and growth. Don't let the pain be something that holds you back. Let it be something that drives you forward. Here's the truth. No one can truly understand the depth of your pain unless they've experienced something similar. And even then, they still don't walk in your shoes. When you share your pain with the world, you often invite opinions and judgments from people who haven't experienced your unique struggle. What you think is a source of connection can quickly turn into a source of frustration. You don't need validation to heal. What you need is action. What you need is to focus on turning that pain into something positive, into something that propels you forward. The world doesn't need to know the details of your pain. Your journey is not about explaining your struggles. It's about showing up, doing the work, and proving to yourself that you can overcome whatever life throws at you. Pain is part of the process, but it doesn't have to be the end of the story. When you turn your pain into progress, you don't need to seek approval from others. The progress you make, the lessons you learn, and the person you become through that journey will speak for itself. You don't have to explain it to anyone. Here's a powerful principle. Stop focusing on the problem and start focusing on the solution. This doesn't mean you ignore the reality of your pain or try to suppress your emotions. It means you acknowledge the pain, you feel it, but you don't let it consume you. The moment you begin to focus on solutions instead of problems, you start to regain control. Instead of being a victim of your circumstances, you become the architect of your future. Every challenge you face, every painful moment you experience, contains the seed for growth. But it's up to you to plant that seed and nurture it. Pain has the potential to make you stronger, wiser, and more resilient if you allow it to. However, if you keep reliving the pain by telling others about it over and over, you keep yourself in a perpetual state of suffering. You don't move forward, you stay stuck. This is the difference between people who stagnate in their struggles and those who emerge stronger from them. The ones who thrive in the face of pain are the ones who use their pain as fuel. They don't let it define them, they let it refine them. They understand that they are not their pain, they are not their struggles, and they are not their failures. They are something much greater, someone who has the power to transform their challenges into progress. When you focus on progress, you take action. You use your pain as a motivator to do the work, to push through the hard times, and to stay committed to your goals. Progress doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen by talking about your problems all the time. Progress happens when you take that energy and channel it into creating positive change, one step at a time. It happens when you refuse to let your struggles hold you back, and instead use them to propel you forward. The key here is to understand that the more you talk about your pain, the more you reinforce it in your life. Every time you speak about your struggles, you are giving them more power, you are keeping them alive. But when you turn your focus to what you can do to improve your situation, you start to move away from the pain. You begin to shift your energy toward solutions, toward progress, and toward healing. Now, this doesn't mean that you should bottle up your emotions or pretend that everything is okay. It's essential to acknowledge your pain, to process it, and to heal from it. But healing doesn't happen by talking about it endlessly. Healing happens by doing the work, by choosing to move forward, despite the pain. The people who succeed are not the ones who constantly dwell on their struggles, but the ones who understand that pain is temporary and progress is a choice. When you keep your pain private, you allow yourself the space to heal without the influence of others. You give yourself the time and energy to process the pain without it being clouded by the opinions, advice, or judgments of others. You protect your energy, and you preserve your focus. Instead of seeking sympathy, you begin seeking solutions. You begin to take control of your own healing process. There's something incredibly powerful about working through your pain in silence. It allows you to build your strength from within. It gives you the space to reflect, to learn, and to grow. It also allows you to show the world that you don't need external validation to overcome adversity. Your actions will speak louder than any words ever could. When you make progress, when you turn your pain into something meaningful, others will notice. They'll see the strength, the resilience, and the wisdom you've gained from your journey, and they'll respect you for it. You won't have to tell them about your struggles, because your results will tell the story for you. Ultimately, Pain is not something to avoid. It's something to embrace as part of the process. It's an inevitable part of life. But how you respond to it is what determines your future. Will you let it define you, or will you use it as fuel to become better, stronger, and more capable? Will you wallow in it, or will you rise above it? The choice is yours. When you choose to turn your pain into progress, you take the first step toward creating a life of meaning, purpose, and fulfillment. You stop seeking sympathy, and you start creating results. You stop focusing on the problem, and you start focusing on the solution. And in doing so, you turn your pain into something beautiful, your progress, your growth, and your success. And that success will speak for itself.